And now, from Louisville, Kentucky, the horse capital of the world and sports junkies' finest, giving you wagering advice and sports analysis. It's On the Switch with your host, Gino G.
What's going on, guys? We are back. Second podcast here. Today, we're going to be covering May the 10th, Thursday, racing from Churchill Downs. First post, 5 p.m. Eastern time. A slot of 8 races today. What's actually great about Churchill Downs today is there's a $700,000 carryover in the pick 6. So we'll have a couple of tickets for that for you all to possibly play. But we'll go ahead and start off with the very first race, which is a maiden claiming 40K, going 4.5 furlongs on the dirt here. Our top selection is going to be the 6 Woozy for Joe Sharp. Joe Sharp wins at 20% with first-time starters and obviously places this one in a very good spot and a very vulnerable spot as well. Is the only horse that is trained over the Churchill Downs track. Has 2 works, one on May the 4th, which is the most recent, going 4 furlongs in 49 and 3. Then on April 27th, going 4 furlongs, 48 and 2, which was 16 of 75. And that is worth noting just for this from the standpoint of a lot of horses that were going to be running Derby week were also working that week as well. So I think this one is just primed and ready to go for Joe Sharp, first time out, first asking, and will get the job done. Secondly, we have the number 2, Beach Getaway. Beach Getaway ran against a tough maiden special weight 63K, at Keeneland, going the same distance. I just really think this one gets a big class drop, and that's what's most important here. It didn't really run that well, getting beat 15 and a quarter, but I think gets Robbie Alvarado in the iron for Ben Colebrook. I just think this one is placed well, and the class drop will be super effective here. If perhaps you wanted to go past that, I will not for early pick 4s and those kind of things, and maybe even some doubles. But if perhaps you wanted to go a little bit deeper, you can look at the 2 John Hancock runners on the outside. The biggest issues that I have with these 2 is the fact that John Hancock, over the last 365 days, he's only winning at 3%. And with first-time starters, he's had 13 horses run, no winners. Only 2 hit the board. So I believe that's worth noting. But if perhaps in a very soft field, if you want to go a little bit deeper in the pick 4, I think you can look at the 2 outside runners as well. Now, we're going to go ahead and head over to race 2, which is a maiden claiming a 30,000, going 7 furlongs on the dirt here. And to be honest, this was a really tough race for me. I landed on the 8 Hawk for trainer Dallas Stewart. Gets his main man, Florent Giroux, in the irons today, which is extremely important because they hit at a large percentage. Has, again, almost the same thing as we had in the very first race. Has 4 works over the track, including a bullet, which I think is worth noting, on April 12th, going 4 furlongs and 47 and 1/5 seconds. Then he also has a prep going 5 furlongs and 1 minute flat on May 7th, which I think really sets this one well. The 3 runs that this one hasn't done anything that would give it some disregard, I guess you could possibly say. A 3rd and 2/4. I mean, really, this one's not done anything wrong whatsoever. I do believe that Dallas Stewart puts his horses in a good position to get the job done, and I think this one and 4th asking will get the job done. Now, past that, I took a look at the number 9, Take the Counts. This one's last effort can be crossed through and totally forgotten about. He didn't take it to the off track at all, and the distance, I think, was a large concern. Now, going 1 mile and 1/16 at Keeneland, I just think if you just toss that race out, I think this one fits here. After showing speed, he cuts back in distance and he gets Brian Hernandez in the irons, which I think is a big upgrade. And I think at 6-1 is an interesting long shot. Now, going on to the 3rd race here, it's a claiming 25,000. This is where it starts. The big money, the pick 6 carryover, 700,000, as I first said. And I believe the sequence as a whole is extremely tough. So if you have a large bankroll, or you're having 10, 15, 20 people all put up money or something like that, and throwing a huge ticket at it, I think that's how you're going to be able to hit it. Otherwise, some slim tickets, it's going to take some serious handicapping and some serious luck to get there. But I think we have a couple of tickets that have a really good shot, and we'll get to those a little bit later. But here in the third, as I said, is a claiming 25,000 going 7 furlongs on the dirt. Again, a tough race, but I went with the 2, Stormy Pacific. I feel like this is an interesting horse in this spot. Coming off a 1 3/4 defeat, running a good fourth at Oaklawn, receiving a 95 speed figure. The progression, second time in barn, second off the layoff. This would, should take another step forward, in which this one would fit nicely. I do believe if perhaps you want to back this one, you do need to take note that the pace scenario in this entire race is interesting. Last time out at Oaklawn, as I said, ran into a 21 and 4/5 seconds into a 45 and 2/5 seconds. So obviously they were absolutely flying out there, and did run him down to finish close. I think he will need that kind of pace scenario today to be competitive. And I do believe that there are speed horses, especially directly to his outside, that will set up fairly well here. I don't necessarily know if they'll go that fast, but they should go fast enough. And from this horse stretching out from 5.5 to now 7 furlongs, if he gets a pace like that, the extra distance should help this one. And I feel like it really, really places itself well. So that's going to be my top selection. Another horse that I thought was interesting was the 7 Tis Noble. I believe this horse is possibly, and as far as statistically, is the most consistent horse of the bunch. This one had 10 consecutive 90-plus speed figures, which is unheard of in this field, besides the last out. Well placed in here for $25K. I think if you chalk up to not liking the extra mud kicked in the face last out, this one should be primed for a big effort in this spot. This one has always been placed outside and forwardly placed. So the last race was sitting behind horses, although only a length off the lead, but got some mud in its face. So I think if this one placed outside can get towards the front, I think it could be pretty tough. Also, I thought the 8 horse Chief of Staff was interesting in this spot as well, and can't be dismissed. Having somewhat come back to form, you go back to 2017, 2016 races, this horse has ran against much better. So there's no reason whatsoever why this one can't get it done. A pair of 96 and a 101 speed figure makes this horse just the absolute one to beat. I will note that only try on a fast dirt course was a 4th, and that was this year over 3 races. Probably easily the worst try of this one this year. Horse tends to get a little wet during pre-race. So if perhaps you're at the track or you're watching it on TV, I would watch for this horse getting super soaked. It's supposed to be 85, 86, 87 degrees outside tomorrow and sunny. So if this one starts to sweat in the paddock, or you see it on TV, or if you're there live, I would be extremely cautious if this one gets wet, because it probably won't run. But it is one that if perhaps all systems are a go, it's probably going to be the one to beat. So moving on to the 4th race, the second leg of the pick 6, and this is where our single is going to come. I really like this race set up for the number 3. What's on the agenda? This is an allowance $55K for non-winners going 5 furlongs on the turf. This one tries the grass for the first time in career at Keeneland, last out going 5.5, and just got nipped at the wire. And I really feel like gets a half a furlong relief today, going 5 furlongs instead of 5.5, and against a much softer field than the one that they saw at Keeneland. And I really believe that this one's going to be insanely tough in this spot, and will be my single on all the pick 6 plays that we'll talk about a little bit later. Just class-wise, speed-wise, everything matches up. Should actually get the lead by himself, and I think is definitely going to be the one to beat. moving on to race 5, and this is where things get really interesting and where tickets can differentiate. In the 5th race here is the maiden special weight 53K, going 6.5 furlongs on the dirt. I landed on the 9, Pray for Leslie, and to be 100% completely honest with you, I'm not really sure why. You can literally pull numbers out of a hat, and I feel like you could do just as well as anybody. But I will tell you this, and this is where knowing some angles, if perhaps you are a random horse player or a person that doesn't play very often, these are the kind of things that when you play daily, you'll notice. Over the last, since Churchill Downs started, there have been four horses that have had Al Stahl as the trainer and Sean Bridge-Mahan as the jockey. They've had 2 winners and 2 second place finishes in 4 starts. Here with the 9, Pray for Leslie, is an Al Stahl, Sean Bridge-Mahan connection. They win at a whopping, over the last 365 days, 84 starters, they win at 41%. 41%. Let's just think about that for a second. 41%. So nearly half of the time we're getting this one home. If perhaps you took the combined ROI betting these 4 horses over since Churchill Downs opened this meet, you're looking at an ROI of 9.32. $9.32. For every dollar you bet, you're returning $9.32. The 2 winners that they've had that they connected with paid $21.60 and $13.80. I know for a fact, just off the top of my head, a horse that I bet that ran second paid $11.20 to place. So I just think solely on a connection basis, this one is going to get my top selection. They seem to run well when these 2 team up together. I think the 9 hole is a great spot for this one. Again, the 41% just can't be dismissed, and is going to get my top selection in a wide open maiden special weight. My second selection is going to be the 5, Glitz and Glamour. This one's probably the most logical choice of the group. After a darling debut, although in a loss at Keeneland, this one drops into a much easier spot today. The obvious one to beat at a short price. Although there is a horse that is lower morning line odds, I do believe that when these horses go into the gate, the 5 horse will be the overwhelming favorite. Could be even as low as 9-5 or 8-5. But the 3 is going to be my last selection here, East Moon. And of course, if it's not the 5, it's going to be the 3 who's going to be the favorite. The other logical contender in here has progressed speed figure wise in every start, getting a 90 in the previous one at Keeneland. Another progression here in speed figure will be tough, although, and here's the key. It doesn't want to pass horses when it matters. If you look at all the starts, for whatever reason, this horse just lugs down the stretch. I don't know if it likes running next to horses. I don't know if it's afraid of passing horses, but this one just kind of lugs and doesn't seem to want to pass horses. So I do think Brian Hernandez is a plus in this spot, getting in the irons, but I don't know if it's going to be enough. I do think it is a logical horse, a horse that does make a whole lot of sense, but at the end of the day, I don't know if this one can get done, but I would hate to leave it off my ticket and get beat by this one, knowing that it's logical, just because it hasn't passed horses against better. So I definitely think that one needs to be included as well. But let's go ahead and move on to the 6th race. 6th race is an $8,000 claimer doozy, non-winners of 2 lifetime, and this is really the bottom of the barrel when it comes to Churchill Downs. You'll see some open 5K claimers. You'll see some starter allowance 5Ks. Rarely will you see anything lower than 8K non-winners. So when looking at this, I really felt like I needed a horse that was lightly raced or hasn't had that many opportunities to shine. And that's why I landed on the 10 horse Farmer Phil. This one gets the nod for me. I think it's based on just the fact that this horse hasn't done anything incorrect, right? 1 start, 1 win. It was in a maiden claimer, 12-5. And I think the key here for me was when looking at the 5 horse, Frank the Butcher, who will be by far the overwhelming favorite, and we'll get to him here in a second. But when you compare the two, both of them ran at Oaklawn Park to break their maiden, right? Both of them went 6 furlongs. All right. Frank the Butcher ran 112.75. This horse, Farmer Phil, ran 112.87 in the slop. In the slop. Okay? So you're talking about 12/100ths of a second difference. And I'm going to get 6, 7, 8, 9 to 1 on the 10 horse instead of getting even money 6 to 5, 7 to 5, 8 to 5, 9 to 5 on the 5 horse. Give me the outside horse, better post. I actually think has more tactical speed than what showed in debut. Also, I really feel like this one is going to get the right trip today to get the job done. So I think when you kind of look at these things, you kind of try to differentiate the two, or why is this one going to be such a short price as opposed to this one? I think you can kind of look at times, not necessarily speed figures, but when you have similar tracks, similar distances, similar levels, I think you can actually line up the times and say, hold up, 12/100ths of a second difference, and I'm going to get, like I said, 6, 7, 8, 9 to 1 rather than 6 to 5. Give me the bigger price, and I'll take a chance. So I do believe I'll take this one on top, and I do believe it will get left on the tote board pretty cold. We should at least minimum get the morning line odds of 6 to 1. As we mentioned, number 5, Frank the Butcher, is definitely going to be the one to beat. What's interesting about his maiden breaking score was the fact that he was in trouble right off the start, then had to rushes up, and still gets home. And then on top of that, now he gets claimed out of that race from Ken and Sarah Ramsey. As everybody knows, in Louisville, Ken and Sarah Ramsey hang the moon when it comes to horse racing, right? So when you get the connections of the Ramseys with Mr. Hare himself, it's tough to disregard this one. And I think that's 80-90% of the reason why this horse is 2 to 1 morning line rather than maybe 3 to 1 or 7 to 2. So, but definitely the connection, just from a connection standpoint, this one is definitely going to be a very, very tough horse to beat. As far as questionable wise, we went over time as one maybe vulnerable spot, only being 12/100ths of a second faster than the 10 horse. But I think you would think, why are the Ramseys claiming this one? What are they doing with it? What's their future with this one? Are they just trying to go for owner's title? Is the trainer just going for trainer title? Like, you keep asking these questions. You wonder, is it all for the right reason? Obviously, I think this one's well spotted, but I think it's up against a tougher field than maybe even 5K claimer that has like a 20K prize pool. I think this one, you have to start asking questions and really trying to understand what's their plan with this, because why are they claiming a horse for 12.5? So maybe they feel like they have a horse that's a monster horse that can run for 25, 30, 35, or maybe they just want to buy this horse, try to fit it in a good spot and just get a W real quick. So you kind of have to ask yourself questions and decipher for your own self, but I'm going to play against it and take the 10. I also think perhaps if you want another horse, the 2 Distorted Ransom needs to have a look as well. 2 of this one's best efforts have come over this surface, talking about Churchill Downs. Although Last Out's effort was bleak at best, I mean, you hate to say throw out, but definitely struggled. The 2 before that puts this one in contention, and at 5 to 1, again, another horse that I feel like could be just left on the tote board up there at 6, 7, 8 to 1. And when you miss out on a $16, $17, $18, $19 winner and beating a heavy favorite, Frank the Butcher, you might want to double check when it comes to these pick sixes. In race 7, as we move along here, fairly quickly, it seems like. This is what I would consider probably the feature. It's an allowance optional claimer, 62.5, going 1 mile on the dirt, and I landed on the 3, Life's Blessing, and this one goes for Derby winning trainer Bob Baffert, and this one ships over from Santa Anita, where she crushed the optional claimer 40K, and I honestly think that moving this one over, although again, we all have questions, and concerns, but Bob Baffert's horses, besides Justify, ran really, really crappy, over Derby week, and especially Derby weekend. I think he had something like 6 or 7 horses Derby weekend, and none of them won. Only one other one hit the board besides Justify. So the other key being the Oaks runner, Rhea, who finished dead last. I could be wrong, but I don't think she even finished. So I am going to take this one. It is a little bit of a shot, I would say, although morning line odds of 3-1 and being the favorite is not taking a shot. But I think if this one can translate fast dirt form for fast dirt form, the actual speed figures is what speaks the most. The 109 last out at Santa Anita, if this one gets repeated, this horse will absolutely crush this field, absolutely demolish this field. There's not a single horse that can come anywhere close to that. So again, if you believe in Baffert and you believe in what he does, and a horse like this who is just towers above, I mean, this one should just absolutely crush this field, and really one of the softer 62.5 optional claimers I've seen. If perhaps you don't believe in that, you don't believe in that horse, which again, I mean, anybody I think has a legitimate argument when it comes to that. I think you can actually look to the 11 horse, Breaking Bread. Again, it's another angle thing, right? Al Stahl, Sean Bridgemahan, they team up with this one again. 8-1. This is more along the line of where I want to be with these horses. They seem to really over. What am I trying to say? Over. They run better than what they should, right? At 8-1, this one just seems outmatched. Yet when these two team together, these are the horses exactly that get to the finish line first. So again, as we went over earlier, 41%, 4 runners this meet, 2 firsts, 2 seconds, ROI of 9.32. $1 invest, you're returning on these 4 horses 9.32. So again, if this is going to be a pick 6 that you're playing, and you're playing deep tickets. Now, I mean, when you're playing light tickets, it can get a little hairy and it can get expensive. But if you're playing deep tickets with many people putting up money, the 11 horse needs to be played. You do not want to go into this race, all of a sudden 11 crosses the finish line. Do we have 11? No. Oh, and then you look at the program, bottom right of the horse, and it says 83 runners, 41% winners, 41%. You got to understand, 41% in this in horse racing just in general is absolutely ridiculous. And you're returning an ROI of 9.32. Yeah, go ahead and give me that. Past that, I would also look at the 10, ma'am. Again, a runner at 5-1. Given the highest lifetime speed figure came over the fast main track going 1 mile and 1/16. I think people should consider this one. Definitely would need improvement from the 96 she got that day, but why not? This horse has been tossed around on every surface and now finally gets back to where she crushed here at Churchill Downs, claiming 50,000. Open claiming. Let's just clarify. Open claiming 50,000 here at Churchill Downs, where she absolutely crushed. So I think this one, getting back to a surface that's familiar, along with a distance in which I think this one should excel. If you're not buying the 3, And if the 11 just doesn't fire or they don't fire, I think the 10 could be there at 5-1. Maybe give you some little bit of value from the outside. A horse that I think has a really, really big shot in here. And then finally, the 8th race, which could be the all-decider of whether or not you're bringing home a check written to you for $50,000 or $3,000. I think this is a race in which could have a $40 winner or could have a $4 winner. So it's interesting looking at this race, closing out the pick six. It's a maiden special weight, 53K, going 1 mile on the turf. And I'm telling you, I like a bomb, an absolute bomb. Okay. Just like Richie, the 6 horse is going to make me Richie rich. Okay. Just like the movie, I'm going to be balling on a budget. Okay. 15-1 on the line. This one has the highest speed figures of the entire race. Every horse nobody has a speed figure of 91. Not one. There's only one other horse that has a 90. Everybody else, below 90, 89 or below. He's the only one, 91. Then on top of that, if perhaps you're like, oh, well, that was just a fluke. How about the race before that? Because the 91 was 2 races ago. 3 races ago, he runs an 88. An 88. He's 15-1. Now, 15-1 can easily turn to 5-1. It could easily be 25-1. I think we need to watch the toe board if perhaps you're playing win, place, show, exactas, tries, supers, those kind of things. Not necessarily just pick 6 things. Because if perhaps you use this horse, which I believe you should, but if perhaps you use this horse, you're going to get way more value than 15-1. It's going to be way, way higher than that. But sometimes in single race bets, like I said, win, play, show, exacta, try, supers, the horse could get bet heavily, be 5-1, 6-1, something like that. And I don't like that necessarily in this spot. I would much rather see it 15, 20, 25-1, 30-1, as high as it can go. Like I said, the speed figures just it's unbelievable to me. A 91 2 out at Keeneland runs second, which I believe perhaps could be the best race of any horse in this entire field. And he runs 91. If he runs that race back, right, on the turf, now, I mean, that was on the dirt, but if he can translate that onto the turf, hello, bombs away. Here we come. So, like I said, Mojica knows this horse. Mojica's ridden this horse 6 or 7 times, right? Like I said, a second at Keeneland, but most importantly, a second in a turf, a maiden special weight at Ellis Park, right? So it's not like this horse doesn't know the grass. It's not like this is a first-time thing. No, this horse ran at Ellis Park, ran second in a maiden special weight that I think is definitely going to be softer than what they face today, but then ran the only other time at Kentucky Downs for 130K, way overmatched, right? So you go back to the one at Ellis Park, you run that back and use the speed and the finish of what you did at Keeneland. Hello, let's go. 6, just like Richie, making us Richie rich. If perhaps you want to use multiples, which I most likely will use multiples in the pick 6, I think you need to look at the 5, overzealous, right? This horse makes complete sense in this spot, right? Having run a nice third in debut, gets Julian up today for Bob O'Connor, who doesn't, Bob O'Connor doesn't run a horse that's not well placed. Okay, this guy's notorious of winning at 20% clips because he always puts his horses in great chances to win. Okay, so the 84 speed figure with first timer on turf going long should easily improve, and I just think will most likely be the favorite when they go into the gate, but will definitely be the one to beat. So that's the 5, overzealous. I think has to be played as far as like the logical horse, right? And then I think if you want to throw a curveball in, you want to go super deep, I think you can use the 9 Packed House. It's a first-time starter for Steve Asmussen and Ricardo Santana. Ricardo Santana, right, is a very aggressive rider. And what's interesting about this race is the fact that Ricardo Santana is probably going to get a pretty easy lead here. There's not a whole lot of speed that I see that is really going to challenge. So if Ricardo wants to take the horse by the reins out of Giants Causeway, which should just love the grass, absolutely just love the grass, there is no reason why Ricardo doesn't take this one to the lead. And as a first-time starter, doesn't know, I think it's a benefit to not know what this is all about. I think you can go out there on an easy lead, jog out, and then sprint home, and next thing you know, you're sitting here in the winner's circle holding a ticket, looking to cash a $12,000 pick six, because Ricardo Santana on a first-time starter just sent him out and, got an easy lead. So I think that's another horse that you could possibly use if you want to go super, super, super deep and pick six tickets. But speaking of pick six, since we've covered all the races today, let's go over a few plays of mine. How I broke this down for you all is just big ticket, or what I consider a large play. Then we have a medium play, and then a small play, and then I'll even go as far as having a micro play, which is going to be $14.40, which is, I think, for anybody listening, is probably something that everybody can afford, but it's going to give you the absolute least amount of possibilities. So let's just go over a few things here, and here's my pick six ticket. For the large play, it's going to cost you $432 for the 20-cent pick six. But here's our play. We have 2, 4, 7, 8 with singling the 3, with the 2, 3, 5, 8, 9, with the 2, 5, 10, with the 3, 10, 11, and then using all in the last leg. That's $432. Or 864 different combinations. Wait, no, it's way more than that. It's 2,160 different combinations. So for the medium play, I have 2, 4, 7, 8 with the 3, with the 3, 5, 9, with the 5, 10, with the 3, 10, 11, with all. And that is $172.80. The small play is 2, 4, 7, 8 with the 3, with the 3, 5, 9, with the 5, 10, with the 3, 10, 11, with the 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 12. And that play is $86.40. Now, if perhaps you're looking for something, again, as I said, super, super cheap, or what I call a micro ticket. I have one for $14.40 that I like, but of course it doesn't give you much leeway. And that's 2, 4, 7, 8 with the 3, with the 3, 5, 9, singling the butcher, the 5, with the 3, 10, with the 5, 6, 9, and that's, again, a $14.40 play. Something that I also wanted to do as a bonus, something that I looked at. I really, really, really enjoy just looking at forms, looking at cards, trying to find value, because I am a pick 3, pick 4, pick 5, pick 6 player when pick 6 pools get big. There is a big carryover at Belmont as well tomorrow. There's a pick 6 carryover of over $200,000. I really think there will be over $1 million in the prize pool. So I know there's going to be a ton of money in the pick 4. So I wanted to throw out a bonus for you all here and give you all a pick 4 ticket, not a pick 6, but a pick 4 ticket that I think has a good chance. It's a $100 play, so it's a little more on the expensive side, but I like it a lot. And it starts in race 6. And here's the ticket. It's 3, 4, 5, 8 with the 3, 4, 6, 7, 8 with the 8, 9 with the 23578. So Rubelinda is the heavy favorite in the feature. I do like the horse from France as well to give her a very, very good race. But Rubelinda is the one to beat in the feature, that being the 8th race. So I wouldn't mind if perhaps people wanted to all one of the other 3 races in a single Rubelinda. But I'm going to take a chance just in case if Rubelinda doesn't fire. I will take the 9 there as well. So I wish you all the best in betting. I hope you cash a bunch of tickets. I hope to hear everybody on Twitter, seeing all kinds of pick 6 cashes with horses that we have all together. So if perhaps you all haven't followed along, please drop us a follow. At myself is DavilleKY32. That's DAVILLEKY32. We also have my brother-in-law, Travis Toole, who is at Travis, the number 2L. And then, of course, on the Switch, the actual podcast, drop that a follow as we'll get this up as soon as possible at On The Switch 1 on Twitter. Of course, if you haven't gotten on our email, where have you been? Okay? Where have you been? We've been giving out winners since Keeneland, really, and then the start of Churchill Downs. We had the Derby winner, Justify. We had our single as well, Derby Day. We had our single Oaks Day get there. We've had $21 winners, $33 winners, cashing tickets left and right. If you haven't got on the email, please get at me on Twitter. Send me a DM. If perhaps you want to send me a personal email, that's fine too. My email is gfgreashaber, and that's GRIESHAB as in boy, ER @gmail.com. Send me an email. Say, hey, I want to be part of the group. And I'll be more than happy to send you all the breakdown of all the races from Churchill Downs. If you have anything in particular you want me to look at, I'll be more than happy to look at it for you and send you my selections for that as well. So please drop us a follow. Keep in touch with us here on the Switch, and we out. Good luck, everybody.
On the Switch.